that. Look at that fancy freaking thing. Look at that. Look at that. Would you look at that? This fancy freaking. Okay. Hey. All right. I look like a freaking 1849er gold panner over here. 1849, it's the gold rush. I don't know if you guys are familiar with. Oh, okay. Hey, how's it going? Whoever tuned in, I'm getting ready to fire up the old engines and start the podcast. Let's get it going. Who gives a shiest? All right, so we're gonna start. All right, gonna start at the top. Let's fire up the engines here. Just playing the backstory, back music here for anyone on YouTube Live. As you can tell, I'm getting ready to. All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Michael Oldroyd Comedy Podcast. And I need to check and see if the settings are right. I apologize right off the bat. Okay, so thank goodness I checked because they're not correct. All right, we're going to have to start this over. All right, wonderful. People on YouTube, thank you for your patience. I love you. You give me a boner and you give me life. I appreciate that. Let's see here. YouTube, hey, I'm gonna restart it because again I got the settings wrong. So I look like an 1849 gold panner here, San Francisco 49er looking dude, and we're gonna start it over. So bear with me. Here we go. We're gonna start at the top. You'll hear some music playing in my eardrums. Maybe you can hear that. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Who gives a shit? What that means is we have about 15-second countdown to space shuttle launch of the podcast. I'm aroused. I hope you are. We're going to do this. You're going to see an inflection in my voice as soon as I start it up because that's what it takes to be an entertainer. You got to be able to turn it on and turn it off, baby. Ready? Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Michael Oldroyd Comedy Podcast, episode 182, baby. That means this is the 182nd episode of this eponymous podcast, if you will. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. We are going to have some fun. It's going to be platonic, and I apologize if you had your hopes up for anything non-platonic, but we are going to start this platonic, and we're going to end it platonically. Sometimes you just got to have a good, wholesome time, and that's what we're going to do. And my aim is to please you, whether you're on your way to work right now, whether you're trying to listen to something to help you fall asleep at night, or whether you're taking a nice, fresh dump. Whatever it is, you're welcome in advance. And we're going to go straight into our first segment known as What is Going On in the World? All right, so YouTube right now, I'm just saving that intro, and we are going to go ahead and turn up the engines, turn them back on. We kept them going, and here's the first segment known as What's Going On in the World. All right, so what is going on in the world? Let's start off with politics, since they always say never talk about religion or politics. Let's go straight for the jugular. As you may or may not know, Mitch McConnell was hospitalized recently and then released. Apparently he had a concussion, recently released from the hospital. If you care, awesome. If you don't, some of you guys had no idea. Mitch McConnell. So he's out of the hospital. I always wish good things upon everyone. So it makes me happy that he's healthy and alive. And, I hope someone sends him a nice treat. And by that, I'm thinking of, from the movie Cable Guy with Jim Carrey, when he treated his friend to a prostitute, and it really woke him up as he was trying to get over that. So I promise I'd keep this platonic, but if someone wants to treat Mitch McConnell to a nice prostitute or massage parlor just to inject a little bit of life back into him, I think that'd be a nice treat for him. And I wish a positive experience like that, if that's what would revive him. All right. Speaking of parlors, that reminds me of Asia, and Asia reminds me of China at the moment. So I heard that the president of China, or whatever the chancellor, or whatever the title is for current day leader, was reelected. It's a 5-year term. So, that's news. I don't know. We have an election here in the States next year. And as we broach tighter regulations between the two countries, it'll be intriguing to see how things unfold. TikTok getting a little bit more scrutiny. I was one of the first ones to get off, not trying to brag to you guys, but everyone says, Mike, why'd you get off TikTok? It's because I sensed all this shit coming a long time ago. I knew that it would be American greed that China would try to target to bring us down. And that's exactly what TikTok is, by affecting the algorithm and what gets rewarded. So you're welcome for me letting you know 14,000 episodes ago that I could see this coming. And U.S. officials are talking about trying to ban TikTok all over the states because of the harm that it could cause to us here domestically. All right. You're welcome for the warning, and you're welcome for the inspiration. A tiny ripple effect sometimes can create a large pattern. And even though I am putting all my eggs in the basket of entertainment and humor, I still had the wherewithal and nutsack to get the F off TikTok, because I care more about our country than I do about my comedy career. All right. By the way, I'm not some hardcore conspiracy theorist by any means. I just use my brain and practical instinctual guidance. Let's move on. The U.S. bank that failed on a Friday of last week. One of my friends, I was talking to him on the phone. He goes, "Did you hear about the bank that failed today?" He was having some troubles with payroll as a result. But hey, don't worry, guys. Biden got on the horn today and said, "Don't worry." So that makes it all okay. Good news, only 2 banks have failed. One failed over the weekend after SVB, which is the Silicon Valley Bank, if I'm not mistaken. And then a second one failed over the weekend, Signature Bank. But the FDIC and the United States government is going to cover any of the deposits and insure them for anyone that wants to get their money out of those banks, which gives me, it does give me comfort, I will say. What we don't want is to create a domino effect of banks failing, similar to the way that they did back in 2008, which I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm actually not too worried about it. I don't want to sound super positive and almost naive, but I will say, based on the limited information I have, I don't think any more banks are going to fail. I feel confident about it. In fact, I think now is the time to invest while the stock market has a temporary dip. Now, I am long-term U.S., regardless of whether or not I believe all of our choices are what are best for our long-term interest. I still am long-term United States. I'm like the guys that fought against the GameStop shorters. So if anyone ever tried to short the United States economy, I would be like the dude from what's that show? Game of Thrones. Hodor, hold the door, and invest in U.S. stocks. Even if I believe they're worth shit, I'd be fucking dumping every last cent to save our country. And I do think that, not to sound, I don't want to make anyone nervous. I feel like we're not in a dark place, but I do believe that there is a little bit of ownership that each of us got to take to try and make this place as good as we can, so we can emerge from the depths of this crazy last couple of years in this dark time and come out of it and prevail. So I believe that a little bit of responsibility is being put on each of our shoulders, and we do have to pull our weight, and we do have to make this world a better place, starting with the man in the mirror, right? And I'm talking to myself right now as well as every single person listening. So there's a little bit of positivity here, if you will, that I like to throw into my podcast. All right, so I talked about the stock market obviously opened up really low today after the fears of the bank stock or the banks coming out of this thing. Again, perfect time to buy, in my opinion. Am I Jim Cramer? No, I think I'm better than Jim Cramer, even though what I do is not stock analysis. But I do have a pretty good knowledge of what's going on because I was part of a startup that I was the first full-time employee on the ground floor and helped build the company into a multi-million-dollar company that sold for over 100 million. Should have gotten equity in the company because if I did, I would be completely retired right now. And guess what? You know what I'd be doing right now if I had equity and I was multi-million-dollar rich from what I should have done as far as getting equity? I would be doing the exact same fucking thing as I am doing right now. I'd grow my hair out and I would do YouTube podcasts live from my living room while wearing a robe and potentially no undergarments. All right. As I said one time before, I sold millions of dollars worth of business wearing nothing but a robe. And I stand by that. And if you're offended by that and you think that's business unprofessional, let me tell you something. The Playboy Mansion, that's considered business professional, or if you're Jesus. So I hit the full spectrum right there. And I like you for understanding where I'm going with it. So let's talk more about money for a quick second before we move on, because the economy and the world economy is on a gigantic balance. And it's like the tides of the ocean that's constantly going up and down like this, right? The tides. So what you don't want to do is when it's down, panic and topple your boat over in the sand. You want to chill, relax, maybe even double down. Then when it goes back up, then you sell it, right? So that's the art of it, right? You buy when everyone's scared and you sell when everyone's chasing, right? Money is like chasing females, right? If you're too hungry for it and you're chasing too hard, it disappears, right? It's whenever you play it cool down here and you're secure and you give it these like little momentary buys when the chips are down. That's when, you got to know when it comes to you and you got to know when to chase. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what money. It's an illusion most of the time. So you gotta play it cool and you can't get rattled. So anyway, let Biden's words reassure you guys. You don't need to start taking your money out of the banks. It's all going to be good. That is the update regarding money. Any questions? Good, great, grand, wonderful. No yelling on the bus. Very excited to be here. Let's move on. Speaking of, the two biggest powers right now, most from my perspective, are the United States and China. I wouldn't call us going into a Cold War with them like we did with Russia back in the 60s. But there is a flexing of muscles that is transpiring, a jockeying for positioning, if you will. China's a lot more comfortable now speaking out and flexing its muscles of independence, and the United States is not going to stand for it, right? So as a result of kind of what I'm talking about right now, Biden did announce a submarine deal with Australia and Britain. We're going to be sending 3 nuclear powered or nuclear capable subs to Australia. Doesn't mean there's going to be nuclear warheads on them, but it means that there's the capability. So strong words without threatening words. Does that make sense? It's a little dance, it's like, hey, I wanted to use a sexual analogy, but I would never want to give off the wrong impression there of, trying to blackmail somebody into sexual activity. So I'm going to refrain completely because that'd be a horrendous. I think the only person that would maybe do that is like Donald Trump with Stormy Daniels, but I don't even know that for sure. So I don't want to speak out of my buttocks without being properly informed, right? I need to be debriefed by my staff of one, which is me, before I blast it into the ether, aka the universe. Quick sip of coffee, then I'll move on. All right, so if you guys have been paying attention, we have some storms transpiring around the around the world, I guess, but definitely the U.S. California's been having some bad flooding. We've had a cold front coming through just in time for spring break, huh? So for those of you who want to escape the cold abyss, come on down, hang out with me in Florida. 75, 80 degrees down here. Been laying out, getting a tan. I have tan through shorts so that my Johnson is the same color as my thighs, is the same color as my calves, is the same color as my face, right? So let's give it up for my tan through shorts. They should be one of the advertising. If they paid me money, I'd say their name, but guess what? I'm not going to because I don't do free advertising. Gosh dang it. Anyway, if you want to know, I'll tell you. Just email me. Laugh at michaeloldroyd.com. You're welcome. I'll be happy to share the brand. I don't even remember off the top of my head because I ripped the tag out because I don't like it tickling my buttocks while I'm laying in the sun. All right, let's move on. Awesome. Let's take a quick breath. I feel like sometimes you got to slow the pace to keep people engaged. If I just keep speaking monotone like this, people might get bored. So let's do this. You know what I mean? Just to kind of mix it up and keep you guys engaged. Awesome. I appreciate you tuning in. All right. All right. I feel like I've been going a million miles an hour. Let's relax. We're in the saddle. We had a nice little giddy up right out of the gates. Let's kind of slow the pace and kind of, if Mr. Holland's open, if I'm an orchestrator and I got my little wand out, let's kind of slow things down. Let's just breathe. Maybe just do a little action, just a little If you rearrange the letters of my name, you get holy which is kind of crazy. There's all kinds of fun stuff in there. O-M. You guys been meditating lately? Alrighty then. Let's move on. Savings accounts. Right now, good time to open up a savings account. You can't go wrong by transferring some money into a secure thing like a bond or a savings account during a volatile time, depending on where you have your assets distributed. So let me give you an example. Savings account percentages right now are around 4%, which is amazing. If you remember just a couple of years ago, they were less than 1%, less than 0.5%. So 4% is a good amount. It doesn't beat the rate of inflation at the moment, but your money won't disappear as fast if you could choose putting it in a mattress or putting it in a savings account. So let's not get too excited about it, but let's definitely get excited. You can hedge some risk by putting it in a savings account. Is it safer in a bank versus in a mattress? Well, you tell me, because we just had a bank or two fail. Just kidding, not trying to scare you. Definitely think it's safer in a bank than in a mattress, because if the shit hit the fan, the cash that you have in your mattress is not going to be worth anything. Where did I learn that from? The Dark Knight Rises. It was a line from the movie. And I remember it stuck with me whenever Bane fucked with the stock market and stole Bruce Wayne's assets through his fingerprint, which Catwoman sold to him. Nevertheless, you can learn a lot of great things from the Batman. All right, let's move on. Are eggs still expensive? I don't know. Just had some for breakfast this morning. Not trying to be cocky. They've been in there for a while. They might even be spoiled. All right, maybe that's a little bit more humble. Good job, Mike, for not being a cocky douchebag. All right, let's move on. I would love to know, when oil prices fall, what does that mean for the rest of the economy? I could Google it, but I'm going to ask the ether that and get back to me. Send me an email, whatever you guys want to know. I want to know how that affects the stock market. When oil prices fall, what goes up? What goes down? When they increase, what goes up? What goes down? I'd like to know. I'm guessing that when oil prices fall, gas prices increase. And when gas prices increase, it pisses off the Uber drivers. But either way, I'd like to know on a more macroeconomic scale if anyone would like to send me some free information. I appreciate it. And I'm going to go ahead and set up some triggers on my accounts to buy and sell based on oil prices. So I need to take a deeper dive on that. Anyway, let's go ahead. Speaking of money, last thing, did you guys do your taxes yet? I need to do that. In fact, I'm going to maybe do it after this podcast. It's Monday, March 13th, 2023, 10:18 p.m. here in Tampa Bay, Florida. And I do need to do my taxes, which means I have about a month and 2 days, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if they did any extensions this year, but I just want to say, from a perspective, a lot of people always want to get money back at tax time, but for those who have to pay, you should thank the US government for giving you a no interest loan for almost a year on your money. Am I right? A lot of people would hear that and be like, who the fuck is this guy? Is this guy over here sucking Uncle Sam's giant? No, I'm not. I just I speak reality. We're not we don't get charged interest on that money that we're borrowing based on the tax codes. So thank you, U.S. government, and thank you to all of the people that work in the U.S. Treasury. I appreciate the no interest loans that you guys give us. Anywho, that is a fact, by the way, and we're going to go ahead and move on. I did talk about the weather. What am I talking about? I talked about finance, talked about the weather for a second, California flooding, spring break, back to finance. Is there anything else I wanted to say? It was spring break last week here in Tampa. Lots of college kids around. Very exciting. And by that, I'm being completely sarcastic, except the hot females. I continue to get older, and there continue to be young college girls that fly down here for spring break or are already here. And that's a doozy. Let me just say that is quite a doozy. And that's really all I have to say about that. So do you guys have any questions for me before I move on? I'm going to take that as a perhaps maybe a I don't know. I'm gonna just think about that. I'm gonna ponder on it for a quick tick, and then we're gonna move on. All right. Does Prince William have a mistress? I don't know. I saw a Google headline. Did I read it? No, I don't have time for that bullshit. I'll ask you. Does he have a mistress? Does he have a mistress? This is going to turn into Michael Oldroyd asking the universe questions rather than telling the universe about what's going on. You know what? We have a two-way relationship here, me and the universe, and there's a lot of give and take. And you know what? If I'm always giving and never taking and vice versa, then that's pretty one-sided. So does Prince William have a mistress? It's a question. Feel free to answer however you want, universe. All right. In a positive way, though. I mean, with all due respect. Got to be a respectful creature. That's how I like to live my life. Anyway, speaking of, so the Oscars were last night. Didn't watch them. Why? I don't know. Because I felt like watching some random Amazon Prime show and went down a rabbit hole of watching the entire season in one night instead of watching the Oscars. I always do everything that I'm not supposed to do. So instead of doing taxes, I clip my toenails. Instead of watching the Oscars, I trim my belly button hair. You know what I mean? Like, I'm very productive. If you ever want me to get shit done, just I just have to have like something that I have to do that's not the thing that you want me to do. Does that make sense? Anyway, Galaxy. So I didn't watch the Oscars, but I do have some updates about movies for you guys. And I'm very disappointed to announce this. I think it's complete bullshit. I'm very, very unenthusiastic about this update. Apparently, Disneyland and Disney World are getting rid of the Galaxy's Edge, aka the Star Wars exhibits. You know, like where they have the Millennium Falcon on display and this whole Star Wars thing by the end of 2023, because apparently it's not generating enough revenue, and they're going to try building a brand new Avatar theme part of where that part of the park is, right? And if you want to know something, even though I like the movie Avatar, it really pisses me off. You know, just to pump and dump Star Wars that quickly. I mean, come on, guys. Well, is the only thing you care about money? I mean, what the frick? You know what I mean? So I'm definitely going to be going to Disneyland to see the Hollywood Galaxy's Edge Star Wars exhibit, because I am the droid that you guys are all looking for, and not the Empire, right? But all of you who I love. And if anyone wants to go to Disneyland, send me an email, laugh@michaeloldroyd.com. I'm going to be there sometime this year before I don't have a chance to see it again. So, speaking of movies, this one is really spiritually arousing. I don't mean to get everyone too excited right here and give you the climax right at the beginning of the podcast, but Ratatouille is making a second movie that's coming out this year, I think in June. Ratatouille, spelled TWO. That means Ratatouille 2. And I'm very excited about it. That's not how they actually spell it. I was doing that to be to show off my smarts. And just the other day I was saying they need to make another Ratatouille, and then I Googled it, and of course it says that there's one in the works. So very excited. By the way, so anyway, that's that update. And by the way, speaking of shows, the one that I went down the rabbit hole last night was the entire season of Upload, season 2 on Amazon Prime. Watched the first season of it during the pandemic when I was stuck in New York, and I decided to face my fears because I had a bad taste in my mouth of that season ending of that thing while I was stuck in New York. And it was a traumatic moment because I was stuck in my apartment, and the end of the season 1, forgive me for the spoiler here, was him getting stuck basically in hell, or a version of it, with and that was the cliffhanger of the season. And I'm like, what the literal fuck kind of ending is this? So anyway, I faced my fear and started watching season 2, and I watched the entire season last night. I thought it was good. It was fun. It was cool to see this character become a better person through his metamorphosis of dying. And, you got to see the show in order to understand what I'm talking about. But I watched that instead of the Oscars last night. Hey, if you're interested in what I have to say about the Oscars, just Google who won Oscars. I know that All Quiet on the Western Front got an award. I know that Jimmy Kimmel hosted, and we're going to talk more about that here in a couple minutes. Before we get to that, though, Mandalorian season 3, episode 3 doesn't come out till Wednesday. I was so excited to watch it last night, and instead I had to watch Upload, which is bullshit because I wanted to watch Mandalorian episode 3. 3 is my favorite number because that was my high school football number. And I was very disappointed that I have to wait 2 more days to see it. So, we all have to, whatever, worse things have happened. Speaking of sports, let's talk about that next. Dick Fosbury died of lymphoma. He's famous for the Fosbury flop. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but in the world of track and field, it is the style of high jumping where you run up to the bar and you pop over backwards, and you basically contort your back and then lift your butt and legs over. It was before that they used to just like run up to it and try to head over, you jump face first over the top of the bar. And this Fosbury flop was invented a while ago. In fact, I think he did it in the Olympics in the 60s, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe even further back than that. But God bless Fosbury flop guy. I believe his name is Dick Fosbury. And thank you for the contributions. I thank him for his contributions to the sport of track and field, which I did compete on a high level Division I at the University of Missouri my freshman year of college. So I tried high jump a few times in practice. I don't think I ever officially competed in a track. Actually, I did. I did compete in high school once or twice, and I didn't do too tremendous. I think 5 feet was like the height. 5 or 6 feet. I can't remember the exact. My dad was good at high jump, though. I think he jumped his height. He was 5'8", and I think he jumped 5'8". So I think my dad jumped higher than I ever did, and I'm taller than him. I'm 6'1". I drink a lot of milk, and I appreciate, my dad was, he would train to be successful in the mile, and it didn't really work out for him, but he just was able to just hop over the bar, which was the opposite of me. I was really good at the middle distance and long distance. The mile I ran a 4:26 actually on a bad day. I think I was physically in shape to go under 4:20, but on that day we all ran. We ran bad. We came out really slow for our first lap, which really fucks up the entire race. That was at the Nike Outdoor National Track Meet when I was 18, getting ready to go to college in Greensboro, North Carolina, on a Mondo track, meaning the type of surface is Mondo. It was a blue track, which means it's a faster track than what most track surfaces give you. So that's a little bit about track and field. And speaking of that, Tyreek Hill recently ran a 60-meter dash in 6.7 seconds, blowing the field away. And I'm not sure if it's a world record or not, but it was definitely blazing fast. And he is the wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins. So I'm surprised they would let him do that and risk pulling a hamstring, but maybe he's just a free agent doing whatever the fuck he wants in life. So good for him for winning that race. And shout out to the 60 meter. My friend Greg Bracey at Mizzou ran a 60, the indoor 60, and he was blazing fast. Greg Bracey was a two-sport Missouri football athlete and track and field. I think that we might be the only two that I knew of at Mizzou that did both of those sports. And if you want to know more about Greg Bracey, at number 85, listen to episode 85 of the Michael Oldroyd Comedy Podcast. Greg Bracey, my man, a.k.a. Spider-Man. And shout out to him always. What else do we have? Apparently Jake Paul lost a fight. Did I say that last week? I think I might have said it, but I wanted to announce it again because I'm excited, because he's such a below the belt guy. What I mean by that is he says things that you just don't say about other people. The level of disrespect. It's okay to talk trash and to say I'm gonna kick your ass, whatever. But when you bring wives and mothers into the equation, then you're requesting by filling out paperwork an official ass kicking. So I think if I'm not mistaken, he was making excuses about it too. So I find it intriguing, and I would like to see a highlight of that if or when I make time for it. Last thing of what's going on in the world right now: International Women's Day was last Wednesday. Wanted to give a shout out to that, and hopefully you celebrated by at least treating your mothers and your sisters and your nieces and your daughters well, and hopefully that creates a ripple effect in the world, if nothing else. And if you didn't, then just start doing it now, because every day women should be respected and appreciated. So that is my update for what's going on in the world. What's up, YouTube? How we doing? Anybody horny? Tremendous. We are going to go ahead and move on. Thank you guys for during this segment. The video is probably going to cut out, but that's fine. All right, here we go. All right, guys. So what's going on in the comedy world? Well, I talked about the Oscars. Obviously, there's comedies, I assume, that won. I'll be frank with you. I need to Google who won the Oscars. It was hosted by Jimmy Kimmel, who's a comedian. When I think of Jimmy Kimmel, obviously he's the host of one of the Tonight shows. I forget what they call it, but he's been doing it for a long time. He's great. I love Jimmy Kimmel. I think he's funny. He's likable. He's real. He keeps it real. When I think of him, I think about how when he was getting started and Sarah Silverman was getting started, they used to date. I don't know if you guys knew that. I also think about The Man Show. That was with him and what's his name, who does a lot of podcasts now. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on this, and I apologize to that comedian that I'm drawing a blank. Forgive me. I did play football for 14 years, so let's blame it on that. Anyway, the man show, ziggy zaggy, oi, oi, oi. That means drink, drink now, right? And then they would end the show with girls jumping up and down on trampolines, which, that's something they'd put on, something that's like a show just for guys. You know what I mean? Something that would sound like something like maybe the man show. So, I also, when I think of Jimmy Kimmel, I also think about how he hates Trump and Trump does not like him. I don't know if you guys knew that, but he was type in Jimmy Kimmel on Trump and just see how he feels about Trump. All right, so I assume he did a good job hosting the Oscars. I heard that he did a couple minutes on Chris Rock and Will Smith, which is always fun. Still haven't seen the Chris Rock special. I need to see it. Haven't made the time. I apologize. I'm too busy making money and trying to swipe right on Bumble and have a fun time. So, so I didn't see the Oscars, didn't see Chris Rock's special, did not find out whether or not there's a new episode of Saturday Night Live over the weekend, because you know what? Who cares? You know what I mean? If I'm not on the show, why am I paying attention? It's kind of like football. If I'm not playing football anymore, who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? Let's be honest with each other. If I'm not out there tearing it up, scoring touchdowns, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? All right. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. That is my update for what's going on in the comedy world. So, you're welcome. All right. For the people on YouTube that are just tuning in, I'm just saving that segment and we're going to go straight into the next segment now. All right, guys. So thank you for tuning in. Sorry that was such a short segment on the comedy world. We're going to talk about my comedy world now. It's not too much longer, but at least we have something. Quick update. I now have 300 subscribers on YouTube, which is not anything to brag about, but it is something. So I want to thank each and every one of you guys who have supported me by subscribing to my YouTube channel. I have over 300 subscribers now, trying to get to at least 1,000 so I can start monetizing. I figured out how to do it. Basically, what I have to do is upload funny shorts, which are like YouTube's version of Reels, essentially. And every time I upload a short, I get a couple followers. Every time I upload a clip of my stand-up. And I'll even take it a step further. It doesn't even matter if they're the same clips that I've already uploaded before. People still follow me based on these. And I appreciate you guys for helping me crack my own code. And let's get up to 1,000. Subscribe now if you haven't already subscribed. It does help me a lot, and it's very much appreciated. I am making a career of this comedy thing. So thank you. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for being the wind under my wings in a variety of ways. Any of the social media follows all help. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Those are the main ones. I got off TikTok. Good job to me for having some fucking self-respect and some respect for the United States of America. And I'm on Twitter, even though Twitter's my Twitter performance is absolutely heinous by metric. I get like 0 likes on most of my posts there. So I'd like to pretend my Twitter doesn't exist. But Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, solid. Facebook's the best. Do you give a shit? Probably not. So I apologize if you don't. Give me a kiss. Let's just kiss and make up. Let's make it a quick one, and let's go from there. Anyway, I did have a woman. This is a new update of what's going on in my comedy world. I had a woman recently tell me that I'm kind of a superhero, and I'll be honest. I said, wow, I'm kind of flattered. She told me I'm kind of a superhero because I'm able to make people laugh and giggle and feel joy. So I appreciated that, and I didn't get the opportunity to give her the type of joy I would have liked, but at least I made her laugh. So kiss on the cheek to her. Glad that we can be platonic friends, and I mean that sarcastically. Let's move on to the next one. I have a milestone alert. Ding, ding, ding. Hey. All right. Milestone alert in my comedy career. When I was a freshman in college, when I was running track at the University of Missouri, I said, if I ever reach a point where I can just be myself on stage and not be restricted by a script and be able to be just me freely and confidently, then I will be doing comedy the right way for me, and I will be doing comedy on the highest level for me, yours truly. And by golly, I'd like to announce that that mission hath been accomplished. I'm able to do that at this point in my life. And that was just read off a script, but I still am ad-libbing now. And I do want to say it's true. I'm very thankful I can get on stage, clear my mind, be blank, and just have a great time with the audience and ask anyone if they're horny and see if anyone wants to have intercourse, whether or not they're attractive. And we get laughs, and I just have fun, and I get to know people, and I laugh, and we giggle, and we chortle, and we court each other for friendships and spiritual bonds. And I love it. I love it. I love doing comedy. I love you guys. You guys, when I make you laugh, it makes me feel glad. I love the things that I love most in life, aside from the obvious of, being with friends and family and females that I'm attracted to. Is making people laugh, doing comedy, entertaining, and playing football. And I really can't play football anymore. I don't, to my knowledge, at least, unless God just pops out of nowhere and says, "Hey, buddy, here's here's Bruce Wayne's knee brace from The Dark Knight Rises. We're gonna go ahead and put that on you, and expect a call in 5 minutes from the Bucks. They need you to try out for the practice squad." So unless I get that, I don't know if I'm going to be able to play football again. I see that the XFL is live and well. The Battlehawks, I watched a little bit of that game over the weekend. I saw AJ McCarron throw a nice touchdown pass. So good job to him. Shout out to him and his former Alabama teammates. That Jessica, my ex-girlfriend, went to school there during his time. So, good stuff. You know what I mean? Good to see. I don't know if the Battlehawks won or what their record is, but I did see that one play, and then I went out and I went for a run on Bayshore. So good for me for staying healthy and keeping my heart going and eating healthy. I cooked recently. Look at that. Do you give a shit? Probably not, but let it motivate you to do the right things. Every day you want to get some good rest. You want to eat healthy food. You want to get some movement, maybe some exercise, both cardio and potentially some other types of exercise, maybe a little yoga stretch, maybe some meditation, if you will, a little meditation action. How about a little bit of prayer just for fun? Throw in a little prayer, eat some green beans, sit on a nice butt plug. I don't know. No, I'm kidding about that. I don't know about the butt plug thing, but everything else I do know is good for you. Human connection, having good connections, a good interaction, social interaction, driving meaning through the things that you do. These are all positive, uplifting things. And I want to remind you all that those things are important. I'm my script here. No, my script here is going off. No, it's not making sense. No, I'm speaking from the center of my being, just reminding you guys of good things. And those all help my comedy world, by investing in yourself and taking good care of yourself. It increases your quality of life and probably the quantity of your years of life as well. And it allows you to keep doing the things that you want to do better and more whole. So, and you do got to have some fun here and there. You got to go have a couple shots with some of these college chicks on spring break every once in a while and ruin your liver for a chance to fornicate. But aside from that, it's good to stay on the straight and narrow. Am I right? Alrighty then. Can I get an amen? All right. What else? No shows last weekend. I did that by choice. Didn't perform over the weekend. Want to take a little break from comedy, get a little rest in, lay out by the pool, and frankly, also make a little money driving for Uber. I made $1,000 last week driving for Uber. So I appreciate those of you who, every time I drive for Uber, I actually I hand out my flyer and I try to get some more followers. So for any of you guys who are passengers in my Uber, I just want to say thank you for being awesome and following me and listening to my podcast. This is how I get new followers through Uber. It's more important and valuable to me than the money, to be honest, is making human connections with people, getting followers and sometimes, picking up some young college chicks that are on spring break and trying to hit on them at age 36 and saying, hey, you guys want to hang out? Or no, I didn't. I don't do that. I feel like that's inappropriate. But I do give my flyers away. So thank you guys for following whoever, and thanks for the tips. $1,000 for $30 and a little over $30 an hour. I make usually. I made last week like $34 an hour minus a little bit of gas. So anyway, that's what's going on in my comedy world. Let's talk about what's going on in my world, which I'm already kind of talking about that stuff. It kind of bleeds over. Maybe the Uber update was more of what's going on in my world, but let's go ahead and officially transition to the final segment known as what's going on in my world. And for the YouTube listeners, I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. In order to hear the final segment, you'll have to tune into the Michael Oldroyd Comedy Podcast. You can find it on any streaming platform, and it'll be out in the ether in the next couple hours. I appreciate you guys for tuning into the YouTube stream. It just gives you a glimpse of my beautiful face and my 1849 looking hair. I look like a gold panner / homeless James Franco / Nicolas Cage from Con Air. So anyway, you guys have been awesome. Tune into the Michael Oldroyd Comedy Podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. You guys are awesome. Love you. Peace.